as a sophomore, I was still, in some ways, struggling in my faith and was sitting alone in the Memorial Student Center eating lunch because I didn't have a lot of friends at the time. And I remember as I was sitting there alone at lunch, a guy asked if he could come sit with me. And I said yes. And he began to sit and visit with me. And somewhere in the middle of it, it sparked my old Campus Crusade for Christ training. I mean, I had grown up in that ministry where we had been trained to introduce ourselves, meet people, and then slowly move the conversation to Jesus, and then share the 4 spiritual laws to help them become a Christian. And so somewhere midway through lunch, I just started to pick up on the moves. I'm like, this guy is trying to share Jesus with me, right? And I grabbed some self-awareness at the moment. I'm like, that makes sense. I mean, at the time, I had hair down to my shoulders, was wearing all linen, didn't really fit into the A&M mold. If anyone approached me, it was usually because they assumed I was selling drugs. And yet here this guy was, and I'm like, I get it. I look like a good catch. And so I just let him ride. I'm like, he's taking a shot. Let's see how good he is at this. And so he's kind of angling his way towards Jesus. And in the midst of that, we're interrupted by a guy that apparently knew us both. And he came up and asked me, hey, have you ever been to Breakaway? And I said, no, I don't know what that is. And he said, oh, man, it's awesome, except the guy who leads it's a real loser. I'm like, that doesn't even make sense. And so I looked at this new friend of mine, like, do you understand that sentence? And that's when he fessed up, like, I lead Breakaway. It's great. And he said, would you like to come to my Bible study? And I was like, oh, man. Because it's his Bible. Now I can't say no. You know, I was like, I'm trapped. Now I got to go to this guy's house and listen to him talk about the Bible. And so I said yes. And then back then, I mean, it was a little bit like a Christian speakeasy. Like you had to know where it was. I mean, it was at this church like way out in Bryan, and you had to use a paper map. Like, where is this? And out in the dark and knock 3 times, 9 o'clock at night. Like, what is this? And I remember showing up at this Bible study, and there was like 1,000 college kids there. And I had just prayed earlier that week, God, I'm the only Christian at Texas A&M. Like I just had that Elijah prayer. I was like, Elijah was wrong, but I'm not. And it turns out, no, I just never got the invite. And here they all are. And in the midst of a campus that wasn't known for Jesus, a revival was breaking out. And it was being led by this guy. Right? Now, why do I mention that when I talk about sincerity? Because when someone preaches on stage, this is good and it's a good calling, but the stage is a dangerous place because it can have tethered to it money, fame, and power. And those things actually aren't necessarily bad, but the enemy uses a desire for money, fame, and power to corrupt the hearts of ministers particularly. So when someone's on a stage preaching, how do you know they're sincere? How do you know they're a real one? It's because they don't just preach up here when the lights are on. They go sit with some random kid in a lunchroom and preach the same gospel there. That's how you know you got a real one. They preach when there's no money in it. And they preach when there's no spotlight and no applause. Why? Because they believe it.
Hey, thanks for watching. To find out more about Houston's First, you can subscribe to our channel or you can go to houstonsfirst.org.